Hey, so we were recently at the Saratoga Comic Con, held in Saratoga Springs. I don't know why. There is a Saratoga, right?
Sure.
Well, we were recently invited guests at the Saratoga Comic Con, and we took full advantage of the comics for sale there. And this is the haul we brought back from that con.
So there was a free box that was a beautiful long box that I dug through. I don't think you took full advantage of
I
it.
didn't look at it until you had picked over it, and it was you got everything good. And I was like, "Fuck!" I looked at the box that said free, and I saw like a couple of the like old like newsstand comics with the covers ripped
Oh,
off,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, probably nothing I'd care for in there.
So I found these. The covers definitely intrigued me, being screen printed. And, I mean, what's not to like? Robots versus aliens and some hot dog guy fighting zombies.
Damn.
And I don't know too much about it, but Last Dollar Comics by Jim 8-Ball. And something I'm going to look into. It's crazy how many he's made.
Yeah, I'm curious how long the run is. Also, I just noticed that the cover it says $1 or $1.20 on Etsy to cover those Etsy fees.
Smart. But yeah, just really really great illustrations, and I don't know, it's fun. Seems like they're good all ages comics.
I got a feeling this person does like posters or like some graphic design work.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
it's
I'm
all
sure.
like they're all like
Look at
single
that.
panel.
That's a great panel. But yeah, some fun stuff. Check them out.
Sick covers.
Boom. Also in the free box, I got Concrete by Paul Chadwick. Great black and white comic. We've discussed it before, but I really need to pick this up collected. But I mean, this cover's incredible. The coloring.
Do all the back covers have these like pieces on them like this?
Yeah. So I'm curious to see, besides the black and white interior comics being reprinted, if they have like a gallery at the end.
Oh, yeah,
that's all in
probably.
color, because it's all these pieces are
Or maybe not actually. There's a bunch of books I love where they never fucking put that stuff out again.
right. And so then you have to find all these.
Next up, this is something that I've wanted for a long time, and I found it. I think I paid too much for it. I'll be honest. So, I don't know if Three Chains of Gold is the album, but there's an album and a movie and this comic where Prince has this golden gun microphone. He used this on stage a lot too. It
That's
looks
awesome.
so badass. He also has like a modified policeman's uniform he'll wear when he has this.
So good.
And so Prince didn't actually write this, but I think he did commission it.
Dwayne McDuffie is an incredible writer that created Static, a lot of African American superheroes for DC in the early '90s, and then goes on to make some of the best Justice League Unlimited animated scripts.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's a cheap comic in a lot of ways. The coloring is real whack. There's just a lot of this. It's like it's colored like a Garfield strip.
But I mean, for the artist to get the likeness of Prince for every panel is really incredible.
Everything else in it is actually really cool to me. It's just cheap coloring. I feel like this could have worked great as a black and white book, honestly.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
it's also a honkin' book. There's a lot of pages, and it's a complex adventure story starring our man Prince and the new power generation.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's riding camels. He's killing people. I don't know. I haven't read through the whole thing yet. He's got this awesome fucking pendant. Anyway, this is one of several Prince comics that there are out there, and this is the only one I can find. That's really cool.
I wonder if doing the soundtrack for Batman inspired him to make some comics. He's like, you know what? Comics are cool.
Possibly. 5 years later, he puts out his own comic.
Oh yeah, that's true too. From the free box, I don't know too much about Boris the Bear, but I've seen, and this is an homage to a G.I. Joe comic cover. But, Dark Horse, you can't go wrong. Looks like eventually he leaves Dark Horse and goes to another indie comic publisher.
How did they get away with this?
I don't know. It's pretty funny. Just this badass teddy bear that just like, I guess is like super violent.
I've never read this book.
I've definitely seen it as like a kid, and
Who did this?
and just I've always been curious because I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it looks really bizarre and kind of Howard Ducky. Where you have this anamorphic character in a real human world society interacting, and apparently being super violent. So
This is they're pitching this as a color comic.
oh, okay. So maybe
And-
these are the older issues.
This is bonkers. I don't know how Dark Horse got away with this. Is it just parody? I just spit
Yeah.
everywhere.
It's gotta be parody. Oh,
Book me to do a spit take.
This
Wow,
is-
this is wow.
this is a comic I do want to find. I've heard incredible things. I don't know, that ad
The
just
gothic
spoke to me.
lettering on the issue 1.
But Mr. Monster, it's just like a superhero fighting a bunch of monsters, and I've heard a lot of crazy things about this.
Looking back, I don't think I have a lot of older Dark Horse books that are in color.
Yeah, no, they were definitely black and white for, if not
Wow.
most of the 80s, if not all of
That's
the 80s.
sick.
Yeah. So, but I love Dark Horse.
I passed over this book a lot. Let me know what you think of it.
Yeah,
I'm very
I'll
curious.
report back.
I wrote it off as like some furry shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. It was free.
This is something I picked up. I've liked the covers on these books before. This cover looks like a mystery novel I'd see at the library when I was a kid. But I do really like the interiors, and it's something that it's one of those books that, like, when you're going through bins, at least when I'm going through bins, I've seen it a lot.
Mm.
And I've always been curious, and I do really like what's going on here. I like a lot of this black and white stuff. I like how complex the panels are. I like how weird it is. Like, I have no idea what this reality is. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So I haven't actually gotten a chance to read through any of these Saratoga books. I've been still making my way through my Plattsburgh haul. But this is a book I'm curious to learn more about. And I don't know, I like
Yeah.
all this stuff. So I don't even know who made this, honestly. I don't know anything about this book. I was just attracted to it. We'll find out more eventually. Arrow Comics? I don't know them either.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them at all.
Yeah.
But it's wild thinking back, like, in the 80s, some of these independent comics, they actually printed tens of thousands of these comics. And
Yeah.
they either never went anywhere or they just went to bargain bins.
Yeah, I mean, this is in really nice condition.
Mhm.
This is like a new book, essentially. Also, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Some punkers. Anyway, that's that.
Like you said, I went through the, I went pretty heavy in the free box. And I picked up some Image Comics gems. First issue of Savage Dragon. Love
That was
Eric
free?
Larson. Yeah. Love Eric Larson's artwork, and just he's a really fun writer, and I'm very excited to
The inks always look like so heavy in this book to me. You know what I mean? Like, they almost look blurry on the inside.
I would say the first few years, and then Super Patriot which is an Eric Larson character. But yeah, I guess he writes this. Keith Giffen on plotting, storytelling, and I don't really know Dave Johnson, but I have the first 2 issues of this, so I was pretty psyched to get the third one in the free box. And again, some cameos of other Youngblood Image Comics characters.
Cool cover.
And then we've talked about Trencher before, but I can't believe these were in the free box.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We both appreciate his style and just, I don't know, this is some of Keith Giffen. wildest shit.
It's awesome that did you do this on the front cover of this one too?
That's cool.
I feel like we talked about that part even.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing that
I see.
they didn't.
Yeah.
I could see them being like, the image eye is kind of our thing. We need that in there.
Right.
But
maybe this was too radical for Image at the time, and I think once he did 4 issues of this and then a Christmas special, and then I'm pretty sure he left Image, and went back to DC.
Even just like the logo, like there's like the figure in the T.
Uh-oh.
That's really good.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So this is something I picked up strictly because of the Rex Miller interview. I thought it was an interview. I was hoping it was an interview, actually. I had my fingers crossed. Because this is like kind of like a, like a comics, like a trade magazine.
Sure.
It's got, stuff about books that are coming out. A lot of outlaw stuff. A lot of harder black and white stuff in here. There's some Bizarro strips. And so Rex Miller is the author of a book called Chain Gang, and he did a bunch of novels, surrounding that character. Oh, wow.
That's great.
Some cool cosplay stuff in here. So he did a bunch of novels with that character, and so Tim Vigil, So Tim Vigil did the art on the second issue of Chain Gang, and that's like a just a classic piece of his that, I don't know, I think it's really cool. I started reading some of this guy's novels. I think he's a really interesting character. This like splatterpunk author, and I was pumped to learn more about him, but what it is actually is Rex Miller's Killer Bees. I don't even know what the fuck this is. If this is like poetry, it says like this bitch's butt belongs to Beelzebub, bereft of ambiguity. It's just like stupid like sleaze beat poetry stuff.
Right. Is it just 2 pages?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was like so bummed. I was like so ready to learn more about this man, and instead I don't know. I think it's stupid. However, there is a bunch of other cool interviews. There's a piece by Joe Vigil here talking about some of his favorite movies.
That's awesome.
So I mean, this is a cool thing that also I never thought that there'd be like a comics interview kind of trade book for outlaw books,
right?
For that kind of stuff, but there was, and I'm gonna seek out more of these because I'm sure there's a lot of hidden gems within these pages.
Definitely something
Dark
to
Muse
research. That's really cool.
And then
wow.
The guy was like, "Oh yeah, I threw this ash can in there because it also said Dark Muse, but I think it has nothing to do with it." And it doesn't. I don't know who any of these people are.
No, I'm not familiar. 1995.
95. This is like a little DIY comic. I got nothing much to say about that, but it was in there. It's signed. 303 of 1500. So I'll be putting this on eBay.
Oh.
Autographed.
So this is my last few from the free box. I think we've gone over Enigma before. Mine are in prestige format, so I was very surprised to find, like, I feel like this was at the Spinnerax, maybe. But, incredible cover artwork, and Peter Milligan's really great comic. And Dreadstar, which I believe is the Jim Starlin comic. And Jim Starlin created Thanos and a bunch of other big Marvel stuff. But, yeah. That's my free comics.
I think you grabbed these for me.
Oh yeah,
2 more books in the 1963 series
by Alan Moore.
Not much to say about these, honestly. I mean, they're really cool. He's doing a blatant throwback to old school comics. Yeah, I mean, we covered this before. It was just sick to see these here. I'm trying to get all 4. I think I'm missing one of them now, actually.
Which, that's not bad. I feel like these are pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
But, like, these are in really great condition.
Yeah,
like,
these are really
I've seen
cool.
some that have been trashed.
Even, like, the ads and stuff. Like, everything is, I don't know.
Which Alan Moore carries on to his is it America's Best Comics?
Yeah.
His ABC Comics, where like there would be these fake ads in the back, which just like it's world building.
Yeah.
And so it's just really
The letter section looks cool too.
It's just, and then Veach is in here. Forgot who else. Maybe Bissett. Just incredible artwork, but really, really great series.
Also, really crazy that these were. What year was this? 94, 95, 93.
So this is at the height of Image making all the glossy printed comics, all the digital coloring.
Youngblood, Spawn, all that crap.
And Alan Moore's like, you know what? Fuck all that. I'm making this 1963 comic.
I can't believe that's an Image book.
It's
really
yeah,
crazy.
no, it's amazing. But it makes sense. Hang on. Because I feel like he had to do what I'm about to show to make that. This is the Violator miniseries, which is written by Alan Moore.
I never knew this existed.
And I was a little bummed because I definitely had issue 1 as a kid. But, so I get to finally read the conclusion.
Wow.
The artwork doesn't really blow me away. It's kind of the standard Image, early 90s stuff.
As a kid, I would have been way into this.
And it's just, it's interesting to see.
Is that a little Violator fan art?
Oh yeah, no, I do love how much about the community Image.
Oh, wow. That's probably my favorite part of the book.
Cliff Chang. I wonder if that's the artist that's now with DC making a lot of Wonder Woman comics and some other stuff.
Wouldn't doubt it.
That's really interesting. That's just like a name that rang a bell with me. I wonder if it says that.
Wow.
No one I really recognize, but
It's really fun stuff, though.
Yeah, and of course, this is before Tumblr or just putting your stuff online.
It's also sick to like. It has to be awesome to like send this in and then see it printed like on this paper.
Oh yeah,
with like the blacks all fixed and everything.
For sure. And it's like you're in a Violator comic. That's pretty cool.
So is this just like
sick.
The story of Violator or like a story involving him? I see Spawn's in there.
Yeah. Oh man, Greg Capullo does the artwork to this. I was like, this looks a lot better. So Greg Capullo eventually does a long run after Todd McFarlane kind of leaves doing pencils on Spawn. And
This one
so
does look better.
I feel like this might be Capullo showing his chops to basically take the lead after Todd McFarlane leaves Spawn. But I think this is just like a side story, and like I know what happens in this series, it influences what happens in Spawn. Like I think Violator becomes a little bit even more of a center character. But Todd McFarlane was smart. He's hiring the best writer to try to beef up his characters, so he was able to have such longevity because they just got to 300 with Spawn. So
Oh yeah,
so setting the groundwork.
this logo is so sick.
Yeah, and then and that kind of has like the outlaw comic style.
Totally.
But
this is something I grabbed that again I think I paid too much for this, but I try not to spend more than $3 on a book, on an old book.
that's good.
But I did slice this open, so no idea who Stab is. I don't really care.
It's such a shitty comic.
This is all the stuff it came with. It came with this. Oh, this is a sealed envelope.
Oh man, here we go. The big reveal.
Or maybe.
You might have just won.
Oh, I hope so. I really hope I won.
This might be the answer to all our problems. Oh wait.
Okay, I don't care about that shit at all. What is this? Oh.
Oh, that's awesome.
This rules.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't know if that's going to come across on camera. I'll try to pan a
Look
little
at
bit.
Thumping guts.
So is this I guess Kevin Eastman drew this.
I don't know. Like it might have been a jam. Oh wow, yeah, there it is.
Well,
Because like, but it's cool. Oh, you might be right though, because like there's him calling out Simon, calling out Kitchen Sink, Heavy Metal.
Tundra.
Yep, and then there's oh fuck, Woodring. What's his name? Jim Woodring's Frank. That's the character.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'll hang that in my bathroom. So that came sealed in the bag, and I got this. So I didn't know what this was. Project X.
Mm-hmm.
Two people in comics I really look up to. This is pretty cool.
Are you questioning it?
Well, there's some, like, this is really cool to me.
I had this. I think I actually gave it to Dom.
This stuff I could do without. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a mix of, like, some of it really rips.
Right.
Other parts of it, I think, are kind of corny.
I mean, this is them.
Are they just going?
Oh, yeah, they're going.
So I don't know. I mean,
I don't know
fun.
if they were coked out during this time, but some of the shit so weird. And it's interesting that Simon spends so much time on some panels, and then like it's like quick sketches on like other stuff.
Yeah, I like that the finished art is by Bisley. What does that mean?
He just gave thumbs up to it.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good find though.
I'll be putting this stab card on eBay as well.
So I picked up actually before I throw that down. Here's a Demon comic, cover art by Simon Bisley, and I love this series. Alan Grant
That looks so good.
Really defined both Lobo and the Demon with Keith Giffen, and Val Semix, who I believe lives in Vermont. Not that that matters. But there's Clarion, the Witch Boy. I really love his depiction of the Demon. It's a little cartoonier, but this series is so fun, and I don't know. I really recommend it to everybody.
Who's drawing the interiors?
Val Semix.
That looks good.
Yeah, and I believe he worked on Howard the Duck back in the day.
That cover is so metal.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, this is so sick. And another book I picked up, Savage Dragon with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's cool.
Again, I love old Finhead.
Who drew this?
So it looks like the story was by Eric Larson and Michael Dooney.
So did he do pencils on this maybe? There's
I
credits on the inks.
I feel like, so 93, Eric's working on Savage Dragon, he's working on Super Patriot, he's working on Freak Force. So I bet he might have just been like, here's the rough idea of what the story is. And he might have let this dude just oh, that's sick. Very, Fantastic Four.
Does Savage Dragon grow a mustache eventually?
No, well, in the miniseries he had a mustache, and he quickly took that away.
Okay.
And I think he does have a beard later on in the series when he's kind of down and out. Oh man, I have this comic as well.
Oh, I didn't know that ever happened.
Really sick. Very bizarre.
I like this interpretation of the Turtles.
Yeah, that's really great. But yeah, I don't know. Hope this is going to be a fun read. I hope.
This is very different from that last one. So these are 3 books, issues 1, 2, and 5 of Slash, which is a graphic descent into hell with the masters of erotic horror and urban violence. Special Collector's Premiere Edition. So this is just, I mean, North Star does outlaw books. You know what you're getting into, essentially. Lots of unsavory characters. All black and white. Hyper violent. Some sick stuff. I'm curious about this. This is James O'Barr, Zeitgeist character. I think that looks sick.
Yeah.
And, like, just a ton of cross-hatching and screen tone kind of look in there. It's like,
yeah, I love the screen tone.
So gritty.
Really cool.
don't know. I also love these covers. These are so metal. And they continue the Zeitgeist story here. This is really the highlight of it for me, is the Zeitgeist stuff. I think it's not much to read, to be honest. It just looks so cool to me. I don't know. It's like, I like all this outlaw stuff. A lot of it's very unrefined. And this is like checking all the boxes for me, where it's like, it's gritty, it's really fucked up and violent, but the art is really good.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's textured. So I don't know. And then you go to something like this where it's like, this is pretty whack to me, honestly. But they're fun stories, and I don't know. I like all this fucked up nonsense. This is cool to me. Yeah. This cover.
Oh man. And Rice. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you see what you're getting here. These are cool. I got a bunch of other issues of this somewhere, but it was nice to.
It's crazy that you found the first 3 issues all there.
125 though.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, it was crazy to find this in the box. It was like in the horror box.
Oh, right.
I never see North Star books out. I always have to get them online.
I feel the same way about Lady Death and Evil Ernie. That was advertised all the time in Wizard magazine and like other stuff, and like the action figures, like more toys or whatever it was.
I saw an Evil Ernie book in person for the first time.
Wow.
Recently.
Yeah. And it's like I've been diving for years and I've never seen it. You know, just like the overpriced foil covers, you know, behind like in the 90s. I believe you picked this up for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I think so.
That whole day was kind of a fever dream. Stephen Bissett's Tyrant dinosaur comic. This is self-published.
Unfinished.
Yeah, but just incredible work. I really, honestly, with Stephen Bissett, if he just draws swamp landscape, I'm in.
Yeah?
It's like his detail and imagination is just really incredible. I do love his monsters, and I don't know. I'm very excited about this. This was a great.
We
great
could have
time.
spoken on this before, but like essentially the book goes over the life of a dinosaur. I'm pretty sure the first issue is just the egg.
Wow.
I don't think the
Okay.
dinosaur actually emerges until this issue or
Wow.
until very late in the first issue.
Oh, look at that. That's a really good page.
And
The
so
blood bubbles. Oh,
he was like right on the cusp of Jurassic Park coming out, and it seemed like it was prime time for dinosaur media.
Yeah.
It was like
Oh, yeah.
Dinosaurs, the TV show. There's like a lot of dinosaur stuff going on. It sounds funny to say now, but there was a time in the 90s where dinosaurs were very profitable in media as like a thing,
Yeah.
as like a trope. But this book, I only think it made it to like 3 or 4 issues at most.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky to have this issue.
Continuing with the violence, I picked this up. I think this is like, I don't know how to put this. This cover is so cool to me.
Yeah.
And it's signed by the dudes.
And like I love this too. The like
Yeah, like just the little foil glossy part on the title only.
Yeah.
It's very, very subtle.
it's a good touch.
They probably put out a bunch of money for this. I've never heard of Gauntlet Comics. This is like what I wanted all Image books to look like when I was a kid, or this is what it looked like in my mind. You know what I mean? Like this level of insane violence, which it's there sometimes, but
Wow, this is beautiful.
this is like, I don't know, that this is like really, I feel like they are going for that Image look, that Image feel with the character,
But beyond, like it's like a Jack Kirby OMAC
Yeah.
character, but like ultra violent.
and it's I don't know, there's some really cool shit in here. I don't know the full history of this character. I do feel like the character was picked up again for a different series that looked not as good as this.
that's unfortunate. All these pages are really good.
Yeah. Bunch of supplemental stuff in the back too.
Sick. Wait, was that Eric Larson? Don't want to rip the pages.
Please, just rip it up. A classic Night Watchman comic in the back.
Eric Larson.
Oh, 84.
That's awesome.
Oh, this is Rob Liefeld.
Which makes sense of, yeah, the Jack Kirby. That's funny.
What year was this book? 93. Okay, that's what I thought. Anyway.
That's great. That was an amazing pick.
Yeah. This thing's cool.
Speaking of Rob Liefeld, I just found this. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
This whole thing.
Like, I think that's great.
Yeah.
There's definitely a bunch of pages. And, like,
the exaggerated fins on his helmet there.
And I do love the New Mutants characters, but, I'm here for Cable and Wolverine.
Color palette looks great, too. I'm assuming this is a little bit faded over time, maybe, but seeing his art on this paper with this ink is really cool to me, because I don't know.
It's
early computer coloring sucks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when he goes...
There's growing pains there.
...to Image, but yeah, this is... Oh, he does that trick again. But again, it works.
That even just this is sick. Like,
oh, yeah.
The background there.
So, just a fun comic I picked up. And honestly, like...
What is this on the back here? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, you're fine.
Mage Stones. Alright, cool.
Like, you were mentioning how sometimes, like, the story's not for you. Some of the Marvel comics in, like, the 80s and, even in the 90s were just, like, really wordy to me. And I just loved looking at kind of making up my own story, just looking at the images. And, like, that's the beauty of comics. It's like you can read it so many different ways. You can just read the...
That's so good. The proportions here are nuts.
Oh, yeah. He's a little man. But...
So, this is something I want to speak on. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the works of Ayn Rand. But... so she had a partner that she worked with, whose name is escaping me right now, and they, I think after she passed, he founded the Atlas Society, and there's different schools of thought pertaining to her work and the individualism and all that stuff. Some people split away from the Atlas Society, started their own thing. But the Atlas Society seeks to take her message and spread it far and wide. They're witnesses for the cult of Ayn Rand. And there were like 1,000 copies of this book at this con. And like when I first looked at it, these characters were on the cover of the other book. And I was like, is that like some weird clan shit?
Right.
The interior is actually, like, the coloring is doing a lot for me. It looks like computer coloring, but it's also, and it's on that glossy paper, but it's not as in your face and oversaturated as some stuff, some modern stuff can be. But also, it's weird that they, I don't know if they sponsored the Comic Con. These books were everywhere. Everybody had one. I'm not the biggest fan of her politically. There's no reason to try to get into like a topic so heavy like that and this, but I just thought it was very weird, and I did bring one of these home.
I did not. I looked at it, and I
mostly wanted to learn more about the Atlas Society and knew I would forget what it was called if I didn't look this up.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is thick.
Yeah.
Like, it is stacked.
And they printed so many of these. I mean, and there was 2 of them. I don't know if the other one was a different story, but they were both Ayn Rand books. Translated to the graphic novel format. Weird.
Not connected, but I do want to recommend Mike Allred's translation of is it the Golden Palettes or the Golden Plates?
Oh,
but the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
And he adapted that into comic form, and he printed it himself. It took him, I think, almost a decade to finish, and I finally have it all. It looks so beautiful if you love Mike Allred's work. And again, the story, it's not for me, but the artwork is incredible, and I think it's really interesting what people are passionate about and making into comics.
Joseph, I don't remember his last name.
Smith? Smitty?
Smith? Joseph Smith? Doesn't matter. We're not Mormons.
But we are going to hell. And, yeah, this is just another... We spoke about Shade the Changing Man previously, but this is another issue I was able to pick up. Love the cover.
Cover's so sick.
It was just...
It's got that Vertigo look.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely Vertigo. It's Peter Milligan, and just... I think this is a guest penciler, this issue, which is fine. Yeah, I love a lot of the paneling. Some interesting stuff.
Gotta love that. Something that I've been digging into is completing a run of Wasteland. I have probably more than 2/3 of it now.
Yeah.
So this is like an anthology book that John Ostrander, who did Grimjack,
Mm-hmm.
and Del Close, who also worked on some Grimjack stuff, did for DC. And Donald Simpson is featured in almost every one, and he's an artist who over the last year or so I've come to realize I really like. And it's basically a sort of more existential kind of horror anthology. It's more like, like psychological horror,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know how to put it. It's not a monster comic. It's not a slasher comic, but it's still a horror anthology, and that's Del Close right there. So some of the stories are exaggerations of Del Close's experience.
Wow, that's great.
As a person. Did I grab two of the same one? I really could have sworn I saw some of those.
Oh, it is the same.
That is the same story, right?
Yeah. Is this just a variant cover? No? Oh man, you got...
What?
That's a bummer. They printed it.
Did they? What? Okay. Well, so this is going into... So, yeah. Oh, okay. I know what happened here. This is actually what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
This is issue number 6. It says issue number 5. So if you look at the cover of this one, it says the real number 6.
Wow.
And they took they did the blank cover.
That makes sense.
Okay. I was going to speak on that. I thought it
That's fun.
came up quicker than I thought. So anyway, Del Close, if anyone doesn't know, is basically one of... There's different schools of thoughts, but he's basically the godfather of modern improv comedy. Every year, there's a 72-hour straight improv comedy marathon festival called the Del Close Marathon. It's been in New York City at the UCB Theater for a long time, and then I think last year they just moved it out west because
They hate us.
because all the people, all the Upright Citizens Brigade folk and a lot of the
All live out there now.
all the older people, they all moved out west. They all moved to LA to get CISO deals.
It all worked out.
So anyway, it's a sick book. There's a documentary called Thank You Del that goes into the history of him and the Del Close Marathon. But this is a really wild book that I'm surprised Del was writing comics. I'm surprised they put out
So many.
a heady horror anthology. And Don Simpson's art is really good. I like him a lot.
Boom.
Anyway.
That was a great find.
Yeah. I don't think it's been collected entirely. So I have been just trying to find the issues.
Smart.
Thank you.
So I love Dr. Colt. He's a DC character, but it looks like this is a weird Vertigo spinoff.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, I'm really not familiar with Vertigo Visions, so I think that was them having Vertigo writers and artists work on more DC characters, similar to Sandman, because Sandman's a reimagining of an old Jack Kirby character. I was a little disappointed that the artwork isn't as stunning as the cover, but still some really strange stuff. I'm excited to read it because most of Vertigo series, the writing is incredible. So, yeah,
I'm curious.
yeah, Dr. Occult.
I've never heard of that character.
He's been in. I think he was in Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run, and I know he shows up here and there, and like Sandman.
Sorry, I was gonna flip through the book a little bit more, and I got affixed by this.
Yeah, you got distracted.
Oh wow, a bunch of. I got distracted by this ad for.
I don't remember this show at all.
I don't remember Time Tracks. I remember the Kung Fu reboot.
Yeah. And of course, Babylon 5. Come on.
Yes. So I'm gonna have to look up Time Tracks. This is something that you grabbed for me that I had seen other places. Mm-hmm. It's basically just like a rundown. This is one of the 93. This is early on in their whole thing.
Yeah, I think we've gone over it.
Yeah, it's just like a weird little book.
Portfolio.
Yeah, portfolio kind of about the image creators, little bios and stuff. It's just a fun little piece if you want to learn more about those people.
I think it's good for the history of comics, and it's interesting that they released it.
I wonder how many they did, if that's number one. I got number one!
And to follow the Image, I didn't know about Image United, but Kirkman, Larson, Liefeld, McFarlane. I mean,
never
it's
heard
got
of
everybody.
them,
Yeah. But it looks like a jam. Like it's everybody, but with the story by Robert Kirkman, who did a small thing, Walking Dead, and
weird.
Eric Larson on the layouts. So this is issue 3. It looks
I've never heard of this.
It's every character, and like even Witchblade, which
what
I don't
year
think
was this? She didn't stay with them for too long, right? No, she did. Oh, that was a Top Cow book.
Yeah, right. I was trying to place it. So 2010. Wow.
What?
So there was 6 issues. Man, this really went under my radar. But depending on how, I don't know. Like, it looks really weird. I'm surprised to see. I didn't think Rob Liefeld did Youngblood after like the 2000s.
Yeah, this is really weird.
Very, very surprised. And Robert Kirkman working on this, I'm very curious to see. I don't know where this.
Wow, that's so cool.
And that's got to be McFarlane.
I guess.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I wish there was like a little guide.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna.
This is ridiculous.
United we stand.
Huh.
I don't know. I'm gonna check it out, but
weird.
I'll report back. And also, you can feel like the cover's like
weird. It's like it's that like waxy gloss. So this is just a book called Swamp Thing ? This is just an issue of Swamp Thing. I've got a lot of these collected. I don't think all of it was collected. It also is so sick to look at these pages on the newsprint. I don't know. I love the Alan Moore Swamp Thing stuff. Like, it's, I don't know. One of the first like comics I read as an adult that really like hit me like philosophically. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
The worldview being presented here, the thoughts on environmentalism and all of it is just stuff that like really connects very deeply with me.
And the ideas of self.
Yeah.
And what that is.
I mean I don't know. It's so heavy to get into, but this is just some cool work.
And Rick
Veitch is always killing it. I don't know. It's just sick.
Don't be a dummy. Pick up Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I had something better to follow that up with, but Jim Starlin. I love Jim Starlin. And,
wow.
This is a very black on black. Don't worry about that.
Ew.
But this is issue 1. But I guess this is basically a bunch of creators kind of like trying to do the Image thing. Again, this is classic Jim Starlin. He did Adam Warlock, Captain Marvel, and that's a great page. But I was really curious. I'm familiar with Malibu Comics, but Peter David, a bunch of Marvel heavyweights, Howard Chaykin. I don't know anything about this. This is a whole new world of comics for me.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious to see.
All
Gil
these
Kane,
out,
all these creators.
or...
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm gonna look it up. And like Walter Simonson.
I think so.
Yeah, he had that long run on Thor that everyone.
Simone and Son.
Simone and Son. But yeah, so I'm very curious to see. And this is pretty stacked. Like
wow.
it's I don't know. I'm excited. I had no idea this was even a thing.
I like that. So is this a Malibu imprint?
Yes.
I've seen this cover so many times. I was there when you got this, and I saw it in your stack when you brought it here.
And you're like, pfft.
I did not know that there was black on black here. I don't even.
Yeah, I see. You only saw
until you
weird,
pointed it out. I didn't see it. Also,
yeah,
it's weird to see him with that coloring. That's
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So 2 things here that are sort of related, loosely. This kitchen sink book, Death Rattle, that has this Bissett cover art. Man, that's wild.
Really good grab.
I don't know if this stuff's been reprinted. What year was this? 86. A lot of 86 books.
Good year for comics.
I mean,
this is great.
This is so wild. I've never heard of this collection.
No.
Again, a horror anthology. And the rest of it, not as great, but it's still pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff.
Man, that's cool. Fun cartooning, especially for horror. So, that's a book I didn't really know much about. And then I found this in the horror bin. And on the other side of horror is a Boneyard Press book, Flowers on the Razor Wire, which is all these the Boneyard books, especially from like 90. What is this? Is this 91 or 93? I can't even read this. I think it's 1994. But the covers have this really weird paper. I don't know what it is. They feel really strange. It's like a strange gloss on it. But this is another horror anthology. I've been trying to put together as much of a Boneyard Press collection as I can. I really like their stuff. There's some interesting... I don't know, there's this kind of like the negative space and stuff. Like,
yeah, that's really good.
There's some weird, interesting techniques being done here. I like these Boneyard books because it's a lot of people I've never seen before and will probably never see again. Just doing stuff where there's basically no censorship. And they have some Mike Diana stuff in there sometimes. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's people just going off. Sometimes it really is just like awful smut. And other times you find something really cool you never would have seen otherwise.
That's awesome. Yeah, the last thing I grabbed was Incredible Hulk. I love Man-Thing. It's very similar to Swamp Thing, so the cover grabbed me.
It was very confusing to me as a child.
I do believe Alan Moore kind of brings Man-Thing into the Swamp Thing world in his run. And they kind of even draw Man-Thing into the Swamp Thing, because there's all these elementals, and Man-Thing is part of that. So it's all one thing, which I think is pretty genius.
But that's a Marvel character, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so
weird.
And Man-Thing and Swamp Thing kind of came out at the same time. Very similar to X-Men and Doom Patrol coming out at the same time, and it's very similar premises.
So is it like an allegory to Man-Thing, or does he actually get the Man-Thing character in Swamp Thing?
Oh, I mean, like, they just kind of like make reference to it's Swamp Thing acknowledging that there's Man-Thing.
Oh, I do remember reading that.
He's
yes.
part of like this, bigger,
the same,
the green
entity. Yeah.
So, I don't know. And this is just, I think, early '90s comic. Yeah. Some interesting pages.
I got mixed feelings about Hulk's like brown pantsuit thing he's wearing, like his jumpsuit. I don't know.
Well, this is Smart Hulk, so it's with Bruce
What the hell
Banner.
is he
He's
wearing?
flying a plane. You know.
Look at that haircut. I hated that as a kid. I hated the '90s Hulk stuff. It didn't make any sense to me, especially when they gave him the glasses
Oh, yeah.
and like a douchey haircut. This haircut's bizarre, but
Yeah. So that's my last pick.
all right. Well, I'll run through this stuff real quick. I cannot pronounce this guy's name.
John.
This guy did some stuff on Swamp Thing alongside Bissett, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I was really curious about this. It's a sketchbook.
It's incredible.
There's some really cool stuff in here. It's just, I don't
Wow.
know, man. Just showing off different types of work he does,
Wow.
different eras of his work. And this is a series that they put out. Tundra put this out. And Tundra was Kevin Eastman,
Mhm.
the Ninja Turtles creator, co-creator. And
Bought Heavy Metal.
yeah, he bought Heavy Metal. Tundra didn't last,
No, they went under.
but they put out a lot of cool stuff, and the few Tundra books I have are really cool.
Definitely pick up Tundra books.
From what I've heard, I think I've heard other people talk about it. I don't know. There was a bunch of stuff like this happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just didn't make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
Sucks, but Heavy Metal went on to produce a lot of awesome work under his watch. I think you grabbed these for me.
I did.
This is where the trencher style
Mhm.
right there. What's that name again? I can't pronounce.
Val Semix.
Yeah, some cool stuff in here. It's Lobo.
It is. I don't know. I think he's like the only mainstream outlaw comic that's out there.
This is like a really weird little run. I think I have all of these now.
Yeah, I think it
And
was
then-
just 4 issues miniseries.
My favorite part
So
again
cool.
is the fan stuff. There's a fucking Lobo lookalike contest. And just thinking of these grown men dressing up pretty far
Oh yeah.
to do their Lobo look. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. And this
Love
is
that
like
one.
before people really cosplaying. Like so it was strange to see this as a kid.
This one is so weird looking. I love how like cutesy this stuff is,
Yeah.
but it's still super fucked up. Yeah, he'll mix styles.
Oh,
I've
so
seen
good.
some other stuff too where like just the attention to detail when he's in this phase of his art.
Right.
The page numbers being each one
And like his lettering, like he's
20, everything. It's just like so much attention to detail, so many cute little things. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just like it's very ornate.
Yeah, and the borders and everything. A lot of work and time.
Like the cute sun, like it's just like all these like cartoony cute things, and then it's like super violent and bizarre and like gritty at the same time.
But it all works. Like,
Yeah.
it blends together.
That's
sick.
really cool. I don't know what this is. Batman Birth of the Demon. This is like a zombie comic.
I think this is a reprint of the run with Denny O'Neil, but looks like there's a printed hardcover or painted hardcover, and that's what that is.
And of course, time tracks. What the hell? This goes right along with that. We just spoke on these earlier, but continuing this Trencher run, and then 2 more books that you also, I think,
Oh, that's
these
funny.
are doubles
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
you gave. You had before.
Yep.
I grabbed a couple more of these since I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
The cover art is so cool.
Yeah.
It's really my favorite part. They all have the same like stamp, like square motif with like the painted background, and I don't know. Cool books.
for sure.
Not sure if that's been collected. I'm wondering if it has the cover art in it. And that's that.
That's that.
So we'll be maybe returning to the Saratoga Comic Con in the future. But we already bought every good book they have, so if you're going there to buy comics, stay clear.
And remember, if you're gonna pick up a comics anthology, pick up TRASHburgh Comics.